All right, moving along here. Got our core support off. Figured I wouldn't show taking that off. That was pretty straightforward with the whole front end blown off, but we're gonna go ahead. This thing looks pretty good. We got some surface rust issues we got to sandblast off and then clean up the rest of it and get this thing primed and painted. And another thing I'm gonna do is take care of all this probably about back to here, so that way once the core support's back on, I don't have to worry about getting this taken care of as far as the paint work once we actually do pull the engine and do the whole engine compartment. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and working on the HVAC, as you can see. So the goal here is to get the HVAC worked out and the core support all set up. That way that will be taken care of once the front end goes back on, and get it ready for paint. So we're looking pretty good, just gotta keep on getting it. Moving along, this is about 30% of the core support stripped down. Basically using two methods to get this done on all the flat surfaces I can get to, just using the honeycomb and the air wizard, and using the old scat blast, just a handheld outdoor, crap everywhere. Gonna have to do a lot of sweeping after this, but checking this out with this stuff. I got this stuff is actually, I think it's called Black Beauty. My dad got it 20 years ago. I've had it forever using it. It's pretty coarse, and this stuff comes out and it kind of etches the metal, so I'm trying to stay away from that. I mean, it's good for a real coarse 1/4 inch thick. You're not worried about prettiness, just need it clean. But switched over to the old Home Depot sand, but it's wet, so gotta wait for that to dry out. And what that was doing, it wasn't clogging the sandblaster, but it was leaving pretty good residue in here. You can see where the moisture was spitting off the metal. So, and they make dedicated sandblaster sand, but I use what I got, and this is definitely gonna work. It's just trial and error. I'm no sandblast expert, but this thing's gonna be pretty once it's done. Just gotta make it happen. Another thing I'm doing on this core support, getting it ready, and it's super important, any kind of project where you got a bunch of bolt holes, say where the fender bolts or the front valance bolts, any kind of threads that are in the core support itself. I'm going to take this this re-threader set, and it's super important that you use a re-threader instead of an actual tap, because if you were to run a tap down in these holes, in my experience, when you try to chase a thread with a tap, it makes the hole a little bit bigger and the bolts wobbling around, and you run the chance of stripping the bolt, stripping the threads. And the last thing you need when you're trying to hang your fenders or basically anything on nice new paint or whatever, to have a bolt strip out on you, and then you're screwed. So now is the time to check every single bolt hole and thread. Just chase them with a thread chaser. That's what the chaser looks like, and that doesn't make the hole bigger. All it does is clean the threads up, and that's trained me to make sure that every bolt hole has threads. They're all good, so when I'm going back together, I'm saving myself hours of aggravation to make sure every bolt hole is good to go and everything's going to bolt up nice, especially once everything's painted up nice. You don't want to be fumbling around, scratching, cussing, and all that. So we're going to do that too. All right, about 75% with the core support now. It's looking pretty good. Got the main bulk of it. I think I'm still gonna use some of that core stuff, get a little more of this surface rust where the battery was. This is all looking pretty good, a little more coarse there. but we're getting it. Won't be long now. Just keep on sandblasting and prime and paint this thing. We'll be done. But one thing I started using was this. This is actually dedicated glass bead for the cabinet I got in the back. So I've been using that, and that's been working really good. But I've only used 2 full containers of this. And I've just been collecting it and putting it back in. And it's only clogged twice, 3 times on me now with trash getting in it, but no big deal. But I've only used 2 of those so far, so that's working out. So keep on getting it here. All right, ready for paint here. It's not perfect, but it's gonna do just fine. Got about 90% of the rust sandblasted off. Did the course a little bit more, but it's looking pretty happy. We're just gonna go ahead and paint this thing. Call it a day on this thing. All right, step 1, we got this thing priming. Looks awesome. Covered up all the blemishes. Kind of hard to see here in the shade, but it's even worse in the sunshine, so. But looking good now. Ready for some black paint and call it done. All right, we got the master painter in the house. When you don't have a Rick Martin in the house, you got to use your second best. So Marshall's getting it done now. It's awkward painting a core support, but this thing ought to look amazing once it's done. So yeah, we're just going to give this thing a coat of paint and go from there. All right, core support is done. I'm not going to say it looks amazing, but it's going to do just fine for what we're doing here. It's all one color, and we took care of the rust, so that's the main thing. Just going to keep on moving forward. Just got to do the front frame rails. That way we can bolt this back in and start working on the HVAC, the custom unit we're putting in, and then we can start putting the front end back on the car. So, take care. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.